Look at the scale of these streets. Millions of people have completely gridlocked Hong Kong, bringing one of the world's busiest economic hubs to a standstill. They are out here specifically to block a single piece of legislation, an extradition bill. If passed, this law would allow authorities to legally pull suspected criminals out of Hong Kong and send them to mainland China to stand trial. That terrifies the protesters because the two regions operate completely separate legal systems. Hong Kong maintains an independent judiciary based on English common law, while the mainland courts operate under the direct control of the Chinese state. Passing this bill would bypass Hong Kong's local courts entirely, handing legal jurisdiction over its citizens directly to Beijing. The Chinese government frames this as standard, necessary law enforcement. The demonstrators argue it is an illegal breach of their borders. An international treaty explicitly guarantees Hong Kong's autonomy until the year 2047, but protesters fear mainland China is using this bill to forcefully drag that expiration date forward, ending their autonomy decades early. To understand why that specific year matters, we have to rewind to 1839. The British military captured Hong Kong during the First Opium War to secure lucrative trade routes for the East India Company. They solidified their grip on the territory in 1898 by signing a formal 99-year lease, granting the British Empire full sovereign control over the region. That contract set a literal timer. As the decades ticked by, Hong Kong was legally walled off from the rest of the continent's development. Shielded under British rule, Hong Kong bypassed the chaos of the 20th century in mainland China. The mainland endured massive social upheavals, a civil war, and eventually reorganized into a communist republic. At the exact same time, Hong Kong evolved into a booming, highly successful capitalist economy, heavily shaped by British legal and financial systems. By the time the lease approached its end, the two regions operated completely incompatible societies side by side. In 1984, the expiration date was looming. The British and Chinese governments had to figure out what would happen to this capitalist island once the lease ran out. They sat down and signed the Sino-British Joint Declaration, officially preparing to hand Hong Kong back to the People's Republic of China in 1997. To bridge the massive gap between the two societies, they agreed to a 50-year grace period. From 1997 to 2047, Hong Kong would remain part of China, but retain its own capitalist economy, its own laws, and its own judges. The current protests are exploding right in the middle of that protected 50-year window. The situation has escalated into a major diplomatic conflict. Politicians in the United Kingdom are publicly accusing Beijing of violating the exact terms of the 1984 treaty by interfering in Hong Kong's internal affairs. China's response has been blunt. The government labeled the UK's complaints as foreign meddling and demanded they stay out of Chinese territory. The extradition bill punches a hole directly through the legal barrier the 1984 agreement was supposed to enforce. The citizens of Hong Kong are watching the legal protections of their economy and their personal freedoms erode in real time. Those millions of people marching in the streets are fighting to hold on to an autonomy that was legally promised to them, terrified that their borrowed time has already run out.